It's time for another daily drop here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, and the topic today, Carolina basketball, in particular, Carolina defensive basketball. The Tar Heels, for a 10-game stretch when they won 10 in a row, starting in late December, ending at the end of January, were one of the best, if not the best, defensive teams in the nation during that stretch. Got all the way up into the top 5 of the Ken Palm adjusted defensive efficiency numbers. Really shined in every conceivable way, from block shots to shooting percentage to forcing some turnovers and challenging teams at the rim. Everything. The Tar Heels were grading out exceptionally high during that 10-game stretch, but the last 6, not so much. The 10-game winning streak ended in Atlanta at the end of January at Georgia Tech, a team that's not very good, but beating Duke at home, won at Clemson, just beat Syracuse here recently after Syracuse shot the lights out against the Tar Heels and beat them up at the JMA Wireless Dome. The last 6 games, Carolina has not been that great defensively. I'm going to read some numbers out to you and discuss sort of the differences, and kind of the numbers sort of tell you what needs to happen. And we'll hit on that here in just a second. So here are a few numbers. During the 10-game win streak, opponents shot 36.5% from the field, 24.9% from 3 in the last 6 games. Oh, by the way, they also attempted almost 61 shots, and 21 were threes. In the last 6, opponents have shot 45.6% from the floor, so 9 percentage points higher, and 33.8% from three-point range, 9 percentage points higher. They are attempting 3 more shots a game, and they're making almost 3 more shots a game as well. They're attempting 2.5 more shots and making almost 3 more a game. Now, these other numbers are really telling. In the 10-game win streak, only one opponent made more than 23 shots from the field in a game. In the last 6 games, every opponent has made at least 25. In the 10-game win streak, opponents shot 43.3% on layups. They averaged 7.1 made layups a game. Carolina was challenging them at the rim. In the last 6 games, opponents are shooting 64% on layups, and they're making 12.2 a game. They're making 5.1 more layups a game in the last 6 than during the 10-game win streak. And that goes in concert with this next number, the last number I'm going to read. During the 10-game streak, Carolina averaged 4.9 block shots a game. In the last 6, it's 2.5 blocks. And that's partly, and it was at 2 through the first 5 in this stretch, but Carolina had 5 blocks against Virginia Tech the other day to raise that number. So it's half the blocks. So they're not challenging at the rim. What's the problem is they're not stopping the ball. They're allowing more drives. They're allowing more layups, not just the drive and layup, but the dish and the layup. They haven't allowed a whole lot more with respect to second chance points. Well, a little bit higher percentage. They've had a higher percentage of second chance points, but not a ton more opportunities. And they're not allowing any more transition points either. These layups are being made in the half court. They're being made on drives. They're being made on drive and dishes. They're being made on entry passes, and someone makes a move in the lane, or they feed someone, they get to the rim. Carolina's not challenging. They're not stopping the ball. They're not rotating over very well, and the helping the helper is not occurring as efficiently as it was before. So the other shooting numbers have gone up, because the layups have gone up. But the three-pointers have gone up too, because teams are getting more unchallenged or lightly challenged threes than they were getting during the 10-game win streak. So all of this points to the head of the snake, and the head of the snake is the ball at the point. And I asked Hubert Monday during the ACC conference call about what's at the top of the list of what you're going to work on this week on fixing the team, fixing self. And he said, got to stop the ball. The ball is your primary focus. Got to get the ball, stop it there, and don't necessitate the need for so much rotation help. When someone moves to help, someone has to help the helper. And that's something they haven't done very well during these 6 games. It's something they did really well during the 10, but they didn't have to do it as often because Carolina was better on the ball. So improve on the ball, improve in rotations, And that will change a lot of these numbers back toward what they were during the 10-game win streak. That's what this team needs to become. They have it in their bag. It's just they haven't brought that bag to the floor very much in the last 6 games. They need to be better because the numbers in these last 6 games, that's not a team that can get to Phoenix. Can't. Even with what I talked about in yesterday's drop about Cormac Ryan being consistent shooting from the perimeter, how huge that would be in getting the Tar Heels to Phoenix. It begins more on the defensive end because Cormac wasn't hot during that 10-game win streak, and they still won those games, and they still closed teams out. So they have got to be better defensively. Hubert has got to play the bench because guys rest on defense. They don't rest on offense. We saw that in the Virginia Tech game. So you've got to play defense, got to keep these guys fresh. So they're very good closing games out. They have not done that well during these last 6 games. They did it during the 10 games, during the 10-game streak, but it begins with defense. Let's check on these numbers. There's 5 games left in the regular season. I'm going to snapshot these numbers right now. The 10-game streak, the last 6, and then let's look at the next 5. When they're coming off an open date, a chance to rest, a chance to fix some things, let's see what those numbers look like. And if they're a lot closer to what they were during the 10 than they have been in the last 6, the Tar Heels will win the regular season ACC title. They'll be the number 1 seed going into DC. Absolutely. If they're more like what they were the last 6 games, they're not going to be the number 1 seed. And they could run the risk of playing themselves out of being in Charlotte as well. And they need to start a tournament in Charlotte. We'll have a different drop about that, but a lot of you fans already know why it's important for this team, for this program, to start NCAA tournament play in its own state, because it has an amazing track record, not just winning in this state, but when it leaves the state for the rest of the tournament, because it usually means that they're a 1 seed or a high 2 seed, often 1 seed. So that's what they're shooting for. Armando said it the other day, hey, we want Charlotte, we want a 1 seed. So to get there, they must get better in these defensive areas. And it begins by stopping the ball out at the point, and there's a trickle effect. Let's see what happens in these next 5 games. If you are on board believing the Tar Heels will do better, that they will be defensively the rest of the way, more like the team they were during the 10-game win streak, go ahead and click like. If you are excited about the opportunity to see them, whatever they're going to be. Because for me as a journalist, I'll say as I sidebar here for a moment, I get excited about seeing what a club's going to be like. I don't get excited about if they're going to win or not. It's more, what are they going to be like? I get excited about the story or chronicling the story. And that to me is a story. Does that excite you? Or you just want to win? Are you a Carolina fan? Just wants to win. Let's go 5-0, close this thing out. Doesn't matter how they do it. Just win, baby. Or are you a guy that really wants to see how the soup is made? Either way, click like. The more likes on this video, obviously, the better for us. So make sure you go over to our website, TarHeelIllustrated.com. Just $8.33 a month. You can be an insider too. And by the way, there are a lot more numbers that I've crunched comparing the 10-game win streak with the last 6. And you can only access them if you are a member of our community. I'm Andrew Jones, and I appreciate you stopping by.